Greetings and welcome to Political Inquisitions with Father Lou Bordiso. Today we are joined by a very special guest, Gray Eagle, who's an advocate for the Native American population here in Vallejo and beyond. And Gray Eagle has asked if we could start today's program off in a quite a unique way, and that is for a Native American prayer, as I understand it.
That is correct.
Great. So the floor is yours.
Yomataki, I say. Greetings to all my relatives. I'd like to take this moment to thank the Creator, Tushkala, to be here, and to thank Lou to allow us to come and speak of the Native ways so that people understand what we're doing and why. And I just ask the Great Spirit to give me the words and the knowledge and speak the truth of what my heart feels for my ancestors at Sacred Site in Glen, Cove, Vallejo, California. Yomataki, aho.
Thank you. Well, Gray Eagle,
Yes.
I'd like to start by asking you a few questions about yourself and a little bit about your background, and then we can kind of move into some questions around the Glen Cove issue here in Vallejo, which has got a lot of sides to that particular dispute. And you'll help us, I hope, to clarify a lot of different perspectives in this area.
Sure, be happy to.
So let's start with Gray Eagle itself. What does the designation Gray Eagle stand for or represent?
Gray Eagle is a powerful name. And to the native way, when one prays, since the eagle soars the highest, the eagle sends the prayers to the Creator.
Mm-hmm.
As that person prays, his thought and compassion of his voice, and as he speaks, this eagle will take the prayers to the Creator. And so I thought of that name, what name should I choose for myself? And my children have many names of the animal life. And I thought, what name should I take? And I decided Gray Eagle should be the name.
How long have you been named Gray Eagle?
At least 5 years now.
Mm-hmm. And what got you to move in the direction of identifying yourself with Gray Eagle and your background?
A long time ago, my grandfather, was born in Window Rock, Arizona,
Mm-hmm.
and he was ashamed to be a Native American for the persecution, which I did not know at the time growing up. And he became a minister, and he left the reservation and moved up to New Mexico, where my mother was born. Her name was Morningstar. Then he ended up in Colorado, and while he was in Colorado, he formed a church, and he was a minister, one of the few ministers, and the church was always in someone's home. And every winter he would leave Colorado and come to California to be with his daughters.
Mm-hmm.
And the church would start from there. And I was growing up in the church world of his life, of being taught the ways of the understanding the ministry of the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to about the age of 15, I asked my grandfather, are we Native Americans? His reply was, why do you need to know that? I said, grandfather, in order for me to know where I'm going, I need to know where I came from. And he replied, all you need to know is God. And I said, grandfather, I know God through you, but now I need to know, are we Native Americans? He was so hurt and embarrassed from the persecution that he went through. He didn't want to share it with his grandchildren or his own children. But he knew the ways, herbs, and the knowledge from where he came from. But he did not want to pass it on.
Mm-hmm.
And I always felt that I need to know. And I had this in my mind, I need to find out something so I could be comfortable to know I'm going to do something he didn't do. Mm-hmm. So I do this in his honor, to find the way. the knowledge of what happened and where are we at today.
In your journey, have you become associated or affiliated with a tribe?
Well, my grandfather on my mother's side was Dene, which was the Navajo, the people. His wife was Cherokee, but she died the year I was born, so I couldn't have that connection with her. And my father's father was Spanish, but my father's mother was Apache, the Southwest tribe. So, knowing that my grandfather on both sides were in the Southwest, I was honored. Because when I look at the Apaches, Chiricahua, Geronimo, how strong they were. And they never gave up until the end came, where they were just totally beaten. And then Geronimo was sent to Florida. And this country lied to them. And this is what got to me. Why all these lies and greed? Why couldn't we have did it in another way? Work with the people. So I always wanted to find where I came from and who they were.
In Vallejo, are you affiliated with any specific tribe here?
I'm working with the Miwoks.
Miwoks.
And I have been working with the Ohlonies and getting to know these people. Because we did a Shell Mound Peace Walk from Alviso, California to Glen, Cove in the month of November, which is the Native Heritage Month. And doing all this, we went to Alcatraz on Thanksgiving Day. And there were thousands, over 5,000 people, Earth people, Native Americans on Alcatraz. And so I started learning more and more and getting the compassion, the love of the Native American way of life.
Are you familiar with, and correct me if I'm wrong in terms of how I pronounce the name of the tribe, the Patwin tribe?
Yes.
And the California Native American Heritage Commission and Kestner Flores?
Yes.
Are you representing any of those or in any official capacity today?
No, I'm working with the Miwoks, and the person I've been working with, who's my mentor, is a man by the name of Wounded Knee, who's Miwok. And listening to him and following the steps with this man of knowing what's going on with this organization that they formed 11 years ago with VIC, Vallejo Indian Tribal Council, and Wounded Knee, and they came up with Spirit.
How is the, for my own edification, how is the Vallejo Native American Tribal Council related to the California Native American Heritage Commission? What role do both of those play, and how do they interplay with one another?
Well, when they did the GBRD organized a plan that they wanted to develop and put a park on the sacred site at Glen Cove, which is 15 acres. They contacted, the American Heritage contacted whoever wanted to get involved. And Kessler Flores was the one name that came up and who got involved with it. So they chose him.
And my understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, that he is a direct descendant and the most the spokesperson for the Native Americans in Vallejo with reference specifically to the Glen Cove dispute. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And do you have differences with him or not?
I would say yes, I do.
What are your differences with him?
Well, the fact is, when things are going on at the Glen Cove, when we had that ceremony in October, he didn't show up. When they did the core drilling on November the 11th, Veterans Day, he sent his nephew to come and be the MLD, most likely descent family, to be there and to monitor what was going on when Stephen Presley and his crew doing the core drilling. And nobody knew that there was a monitor on the grounds. And we kept waiting and waiting for Kessler Flores to come. And all of a sudden, through the action of going on for that morning, what happened? Where is this person? Stephen Presley says, we have him here. We have his nephew. And he come down the walkway with the contractor's uniform on, the hard hat and such, the vest. And like we thought he was one of the core drillers. So they snuck someone in without our knowledge.
Now, do you have any philosophical differences with him in terms of what you would like to see as an outcome with the dispute at Glen Cove?
Yes, I would personally like to meet him and ask him why that he feels that whatever GBRD wants to do with the sacred site, that he speaks for all Native Americans. I feel he doesn't.
Ah, so you don't feel as though he speaks for all of Native Americans, and so from your perspective, are you and your tribe raising a different voice and a different perspective than what he is proposing?
Yes.
For our viewers who are not familiar with this,
Yes.
what is the issue in Glen Cove? Can you give us a little history and what the dispute is all about?
The understanding is Glen Cove sacred site is 3,500 years old. That's older than the pyramid in Egypt. And you want to put a park on this sacred site. Where's your heart at? And understanding that the Native Americans that are here, they came there 3,500 years ago, and they traveled in their canoes, tule canoes, balsa canoes, and that was a gathering place at sacred site Glen Cove. And that was a moment to do their prayers, to rest, relax, give thanks to the Creator for making this journey there. And those that passed on, well, they couldn't take them back home to their land, or wherever they came from. And there was 100 tribes that came through there. We're talking the Miwok, the Olonies, Patwins, the Wapos, the Wailai, the Yokuts. And while they're there and they passed on, so they buried them there. Where's our heart and our compassion? And if I was to ask you, and you're a religious man of the cloth, and say, can we put a park on your cemetery or your grave, your burial grounds? How would you answer that? Would you appreciate a park with picnic tables and a bathroom and a parking lot on a cemetery ground that belongs to your people or your ancestors went before you? Would that make you feel comfortable to see?
Well, you know what? Actually, that was the position that I took when I was running for city council. And I asked that very same question, is how would, say, from a Christian perspective, specifically from a Catholic perspective, how Catholics would feel about people coming in and walking around on the grave sites of our ancestors and those who have gone before us. And, you know, would we really like to have, people with picnic tables and restrooms and an educational site on the grounds itself? On the other hand, on sacred days and on secular celebrations, like, say, for instance, Thanksgiving or Christmas or New Year's, in many Catholic cemeteries, people do go out and have picnics on the ground to be with or nearby relatives. Is on a personal level, would it be something that you would be compatible with, to have Native American ancestors gathering on the sacred grounds together?
In a way of what you're saying, that during holidays, religious people come together and pray and give thanks and talk to their lost loved ones that went before them. Well, Native American culture is totally different.
Okay.
They didn't have these holidays to say, well, Christmas, let's get together and go to Mass, and then we'll go to the cemetery and pray to our loved ones that went before us and give thanks to the Creator for what we have and not what we don't have. But the fact is, Native Americans didn't have these holidays gathering of going to the sacred site to pray. They went on their own to, as they felt. I mean, there's many days in the past 6 months I would go to the sacred site, morning, noon, even midnight. I'll be on the grounds and I would be praying. And then during my prayer in the daytime, as I see trash all over the sacred site,
Right.
I would pick it up and bring it to the gate so GBRD can get rid of this trash that I brought to the gate. I won't put it in the can. I would leave it there so they can see that this trash needs to be taken care of.
What historically has been in general among the Native American tribes in Vallejo of helping to keep the site clean and upkept? Because my understanding is there's been a lot of volunteers from, say, the local area and people who live in Glen Cove that are going down there and cleaning up the site, such in a way that you are doing. Has the Native American population, the community, been directly involved on a larger basis, cleaning up the site and keeping it up?
I guess I can't answer that many people of the Native Americans gone there because many of them live far away. So it'd be hard for them to travel just for that purpose to be there. But there's times I see Earth people coming in there and walking the grounds, or dogs or whatnot, or even with trash bag. There's a little lady that always comes there, middle aged, and she's always throwing the trash in. And I've met her and I told her, thank you, I appreciate what you're doing. And I will continue walking the grounds and look for trash and bring it. But I can't answer that and say there's many native that will go to the sacred grounds to pick up trash. There are a few that do go there, the locals that I've seen, got to know and talk to them, and knowing that their wishes is well in the same path as mine to do the right thing, to clean this place up.
Do people join you when you go out?
No, they don't, because I go early in the morning, and before I pick up the trash, I have my prayers, and I give thanks, and then I look at the big picture and I start walking the grounds, and I would look for the trash, and I just pick it up and haul it to the gate and leave it there.
You know, a few months ago, I went to a Native American gathering, and I believe it's on the same sacred site. And there was sacred dances. What's the difference between having a sacred dance on the ancestral burial grounds and, say, having families gather for a picnic?
Well, and the Native American have always been very spiritual culture people. So when they do their dances, they go through a ritual, and they put a lot into it. So when they're dancing, they're giving all the prayers to the Great Spirit, the Creator, and to give Him thanks. Because every morning when the person wakes up, whether he lives in a teepee or lives in a hogan or a wigwam, he will get up and his doors always faces east. And as he walks out that door, he greets the Great Spirit and prays and gives thanks for this new day. And as that day went on, he will realize he has everything, all because the Creator gave it to him.
So is your position that perhaps people walking on the sacred grounds, it pretty much depends on the intent of the people who are walking or traveling in that area, as opposed to just simply walking? If they have a sacred intent, that would be something that's more compatible with your beliefs?
I would appreciate when I even inform people, you know, you're on sacred grounds, and they would say, yeah, I know. And they just go on their journey. If they stop and ask me questions, and I would, you know, I give them that understanding that, yes, you understand you're on sacred grounds, you do have permission. I'm not here to stop you from enjoying your day to walk your dogs, ride your bicycles, or jog, or just walk and see the beauty of this nature that the Creator given us. I mean, you got that beautiful water there, and you got the grounds, the trees, and the grass. Because to Native Americans, all things are sacred. We all bleed red. So all my relations to the elk, the eagle, the hawk, the owl, the fish, the dog, the cat, they all bleed red. For we all became in part of the God creation.
And if that land were to be developed, would God's creation be impaired?
You know, I would hope that whatever happens to that land, because I'm just one man, and if you look at a waterfall, it's powerful, but it started with one drop of water to become a waterfall as powerful as it is. Well, I'm hoping that many people will help me to make this sacred site and continue to be what it is, a sacred site. You can come through and say your prayers.
Mm-hmm.
You can come in and enjoy the day. It's not for me to say you can't walk here, because this land's not mine. The land belongs to my grandchildren.
So your position is that all people are invited there,
Yes.
but to be respectful, not only of the sacred grounds, but of the species and the creatures that are there. Hmm?
Yes.
Hmm.
You see, I was hunting a while back in September up in the mountains. And when I woke up this morning and I got outside of my tent and I started to say my prayers, and I'm thanking the Creator for all my relatives and all my relation to the creatures. And here I'm hunting one. And I had to say to myself, what are you doing? You're going to hunt this animal that you have just prayed for, all your relations and all the creatures that the Creator had put on earth?
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, my mind, my heart wasn't into hunting. My mind and my heart was into pray and give thanks for all the beauty of the mountains. Because the Native Americans say, he who walks up that mountain is allowed to enjoy the view. And as you get to the top and you see the view, the panoramic view of what God put on earth, how beautiful it is. And down at the bottom, you can't see that view. So you have to take that journey to get up there. And it might be tough and hard, breathing and sweating and getting tired. But once you get up there, it's like a slice of heaven.
You bring up an interesting question, and that's kind of like the dichotomy between being respectful of creation and yet hunting creation. How do you yourself, how do you reconcile those two?
In the past years, when I hunted, I kept it the tradition way. When I took game, I gave some of the meat back to Mother Earth to feed those that are hungry. And when I took that meat and gave it to Mother Earth, I thanked that creature for giving his life to feed my family, as I remember of my ancestors. One must give thanks for that creature gave his life so you could survive. Well, I didn't really need to survive on that meat.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't that I had to have it because I was going to perish. But it was a game for me as a hunter to be up there and do the old ways. But it was really sad to see that he gave his life to feed me when I really didn't need it. It was just something to feel my ego.
Mm.
And then I started realizing my hunting days are over. Now I just do tournament shoots with my bow, longbow compound that I have. And be in the mountains to go up there to pray, to be thankful, to see the beauty that God put on earth.
With the plan that Vallejo has for the Glen Cove area, what do you understand, and have you actually read the master plan that of the greater recreational district has for Vallejo?
I have spoken with Stephen Presley numerous times in his office and on the sacred side. We walked around, and I kept putting out there to him pain and suffering. And I tried to plant that seed in his heart, those two words. Haven't our ancestors suffered enough? Just California alone, over 105 tribes. When the first group of people came in here with the Spanish, they had the Native Americans, the Miwoks and the Ohlonies and the Patwins. And they converted them to Catholic and changed their name, changed their ways. But these people became servitude to them. And I just finished reading the book, Coastal Miwok. And I was really sad because even the priests were having relations with the ladies and they were being pregnant. And if this woman voice her opinion about some issues that she didn't approve of because they weren't given permission to walk back to their village or get in the canoe from San Francisco, Mission Dolores, to go back to Tamales Bay or over to Petaluma to the village. And she got angry with them. They beat her. They tied her to a wagon wheel and they beat her to take the fight out of her. If they were given permission to go and visit, and they got a written permit to get through the gates, and the military let them pass through, they were also beaten and dragged by horses for not coming back in the amount of days they were given. They sent the military to go bring them back. And then they beat them after they got into the mission. I mean, why? After the Spanish did this, the Mexicans did it. And after the Mexicans did it, the dominant society did it to them and took the land away from them. You know, I have to say something. On this land that I'm in California, I want to take this moment and thank the Olonis and the Patwins and the Wappos and the Chumash. All these places I visit, this is their land.
And what is, that's a very important point. And what is the position in the master plan itself from Vallejo? What's the official position? What do they want to do with this land in Glen Cove?
Well, from what I found out from Stephen Presley, and we have spoke, like I said numerous times, they received $1.5 million from Bay City Trails to go ahead and develop a park there. But at one time they wanted to put an elaborate park, beautiful elaborate park. But then they came to an understanding and conclusion that the money is not there, and then they decided we'll just put a nice minimal park, tables, benches, a parking lot, and a bathroom. Well, now I found out they want to borrow more money from the city of Vallejo, $500,000 I heard, to finish off this project. The money's not there. Vallejo is bankrupt.
Right.
So what are we going to do? And I talked to the council twice, and I asked them, if you put a park there, who's going to open and close the restroom? Who's going to pick up the trash? You don't have the money. And then when the city of Vallejo residents at Glen Cove call the police department for all the atrocity of noise and music and fights and drugs going on and defacing the bathroom and destroying the land, where's the money to hire the police department to go there at God-given hours, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, people got to sleep and go to work the next day? What's going to happen here?
Is that addressed in the master plan?
Well, they didn't put that about the police department. They have mentioned in some paperwork I got from Glen Cove City of the, I can't remember the Glen Cove Convention section up there, that all this is going to be hunky-dory, there is money for this, there is money for that. Who are you snow jobbing? Let's look at the real picture. We are taxpayers. There's no money in Vallejo accounts to do this. They can't do it. Are we going to be doing by asking people like myself and that lady I met pick up the trash? Are we going to look at the walls and paint it, repaint it because graffiti's written all over it? And there has been some people writing on the walls and plants saying burial ground, this is Indian land, this is American, Native American site. I mean, I don't know who those people were, but I could like to tell them, please stop the graffiti on Native American site, because a Native American site is sacred to our people.
And you see that at desecration.
Yes.
Have you read the master plan yourself?
No, I haven't not read the whole planning, but I know they want to put this park there because this grant was given to them, and they can't forfeit this grant and put it elsewhere, or else they forfeit it. So they can't take it to Hans Park or other local parks in the Bay Area of Vallejo. So that money has to go to this park. But let's look at the real picture. Could I go put a park on their cemetery and a bathroom? A sacred site is what it is. It's sacred. You're there to pray. You're there to honor your ancestors. Because what they have taught your parents, your grandparents, and they've been through so much torment and pain, like I was saying about the missionaries, down California alone, not even going in the Southwest and everywhere else. I mean, my ancestors that are Cherokee, like I mentioned to you, the Trail of Tears. They were relocated from the South into Oklahoma. And those that died along the way, they didn't care. And then when you look at the long walk with the Dene, Kit Carson, a colonel, was forced to round these people up whether they want to or not, and those that didn't go, he killed them. Then he annihilated their crops and their homes, destroyed it, so they couldn't have something to come back to. And while they were walking on that long trail, they died along the way, the Hopis. Over 10,000 walked, 3,000 at least died on the way up there. And then when you look at these massacres that have happened to our ancestors, Sand Creek, it was a peaceful nation. Black Elk had signed a treaty and had American flag and a white flag in his center of his reservation, or the village. It wasn't a reservation then, it was a village. They came in there and annihilated them. Killed 600 people, men, women, and children, and raped them and molested, mutilated them, and cut off their breasts and used it for a tobacco pouch and wearing it on their hat. And then when John Chivington, the colonel, the leader of that band, was going to be up for charges to be court-martialed, he resigned. And by resigning, he was let off scot-free for the atrocity and the crimes he committed to the Native Americans. So when you look back at history, Chief Joseph and all these tribes that were here before the dominant society came, where's your heart? All the pain and suffering you caused these people, and you decimated them with all your diseases, syphilis, smallpox. There's stories I can tell you about giving blankets to the children that were saturated with smallpox. Why? To kill them. That way, as General Sheridan says, the only good Indian I saw was a dead one.
So, Grey Eagle, do you see what is being proposed for Glen Park as just an extension of all the historical events, the tragic historical events that have gone before us, that have occurred before us, that you and I both are heavy-hearted about? Do you see this as another extension of the same thing, another slap in the face to Native American?
Yes, I do. Because as I speak of the heart and the pain and the suffering, why can't we leave them be? This was their land. They stole it by ways and means and force because they had the bigger guns. Okay, but can you honor them by leaving their sacred site alone? I walked from Alviso all the way to Glen Cove with people like Corina and Janella and Earth people from Japan, the Buddhist monk, people from Australia that came just for this walk. It was 8 days, 220-something miles. And they were with us in prayers and visiting all these sacred sites that man had desecrated. Put the Bayview Mall in Emeryville. It was 3 stories high of shell mound, just for a park. So all their lies and their greed, for what? For money? Can you feel comfortable and relax at night and rest in peace to say, you know, I did a good day. Everything I did was good from the heart. But all these sacred sites that you destroyed and desecrated, and you got 13,000 Native Americans at UC Berkeley, Phoebe Hearst Museum, in the basement, in boxes. And they're supposed to be brought back to be reburied, which is a law that had been passed through. I was there for 4 days protesting with this Buddhist monk and many other people that came to volunteer their time to chant with us and hand out flyers to allow the people that are hearing us to acknowledge the fact we're passing flyers so you understand why we're here. We're here in a good way.
What would you like to see regarding the remains that are at UC? What would you like to see done with those remains?
I believe they should be brought back to be reburied.
At Glen Cove?
Wherever they came
or
from.
Wherever?
Wherever they came from. There are many in San Francisco State. There's many in Smithsonian Institute. Just like Ishi was once, his skull was sent to Smithsonian Institute. He was from the Yanni tribe up there in Mount Lassen. Because people protested, because people took a stand, they released his skull to be properly buried, to be where it belongs so the spirit can move on. You lock them up in a box, their spirits cannot move. People must understand Native culture is totally different. And now many people, Earth people, are starting to listen by seeing how we were so close related to Mother Earth. We lived off Mother Earth. She provided everything for us. If we don't take care of her, because we're not, like I said, the trash just there at Sacred Site, that walk for 8 days, I saw much trash throughout the road. And my friend Wounded Knee would point out to me, while you're praying, look at all the trash you see around you, how we drop in everything by the wayside, the lakes, the rivers, the mountains, the streets, all this styrofoam and plastic cups and paper bags and bottles and cans. Why? Why can't we have that love and compassion for Mother Earth? Are parents not teaching us right?
To me, what you're describing is a raping of the land.
Yes. For the next 7th generation, what's going to be there? Corporation throwing toxic waste in the ocean. They get a $50,000 fine slapped on their wrist, but they make a $30 million profit. What's wrong with this picture here? It's again the same word, greed, profits.
So in the midst of the greed and the profits and the two different sides that we have here in Vallejo, and the arguments and the disputes and the disagreements, what would you, Gray Eagle and Wounded Knee, for example, what would you both, as leaders of the Native American community here in Vallejo, like to see as the ideal outcome between the two opposing sides with regard to Glen Cove and the sacred site?
Well, first of all, I did put it out there with Wounded Knee. We are with Spirit, and Spirit stands for Sacred Sites of Protection Rights of indigenous tribes. So all the sacred sites, we would like to see that they're left alone. Nothing desecrate, not a shovel going to that earth, because that's my mother. And the bones are left alone of our ancestors. Bring them back to be reinterred to the grounds. And look at the beauty of what was here before you came. Do we need to tear out, destroy more than what we've already done? Haven't we learned yet? When are we going to be touched by the fact that the native culture of understanding Mother Earth, the harmony, the spiritual sense of it, the tranquility, that we need to leave sacred site alone? And those that wish to come and walk and jog and bike ride, you're more than welcome. But understand you're on sacred site. If you want to say a prayer, fine. By all means, go ahead. I'm not asking you to be converted to our way of life. I'm just asking you to respect our way of life, as I respect when I'm on your grounds and your cemeteries, and I visit my relatives of my sister-in-laws and brother-in-laws and friends that I go visit, because I know it's a good thing to go visit a sacred site and pray and talk to them. And I have seen spirits when I'm on the sacred sites or visiting, because I'm a spiritual man. And the Creator created every one of us, but we're all special, we're all different. And I'm thankful that I have this heart and compassion for my people. Because, yes, I am tired. My heart is heavy for all the things, the atrocities that were done to all the native indigenous tribes throughout. When are we going to say I'm sorry? Canada. West Studi just had a film out, and it's on Encore, and it talks about what Canada did to the people and made retribution and gave them billions of dollars back for their crimes they committed. The United States has not even volunteered an apology, nor the monetary.
Bringing it back to the local. Your position is, as long as those who are coming to the Glen Cove Park area are respectful and prayerful, then they are welcome to come.
You don't have to be prayerful, but just respect. Don't give me this garbage, so what? I know it's a sacred site, so what? Everywhere is sacred site. Just understand the fact that this is sacred, and honor. I ask you to honor my wishes of just walking in beauty when you're on the sacred site.
a noble goal for all of us. Well, great Eagle, I thank you so very much for being with us today and to sharing your story and the story of the Native American people, especially for here in Vallejo. It has been a great pleasure to meet with you, to look you in the eye, and to have this conversation.
I appreciate this moment that you've given me to be here, but there's one thing I would like to say from the word of mouth
Yes.
that I received from this person, and it's written in paper, that this man says to me is a very good possibility in the next re-election that he will run for mayor. And that man is Wounded Knee, and I hope he does, because he will have my 110% input to work with him.
Thank you.
And I thank you. Yo mataki ase. Aho.